I don't know if you saw the news or not, but about a week and a half ago, HHS, the Health and Human Services of the FDA, they gave $176 million to Moderna to create a mRNA vaccine for avian flu, and that's the H-Pi, the whole cow flu thing. And I was so upset. I submitted a government accountability office complaint on the whistleblower thing because I have received a phone call from a dairyman in the United States, the Southwest, outside of California, but somebody who said on May 1st, his cows had come down with H-Pi. He talked to his vet. He had 6 cows come down, very loose, yellowish stools, manure, diarrhea, low milk production. They didn't die, but the interesting thing was that the veterinarian said, just take those 6 cows out of your herd and they'll recover by themselves in 2 weeks with antibodies to it. They'll get over it. And what do you know? In 2 weeks, they did. But during that period of time, because this young man has a brand that sells milk on retail shelves, who knows, hundreds, if not maybe thousands of people consumed some of this milk with these H-Pi viruses in it. But we know that H-Pi is not a GI tract or foodborne disease process. It is a respiratory process. Respiratory, not GI. Nobody got sick. No complaints. Tasted delicious. Yes, he'd removed the cows out of the herd. However, before he caught the cows, it got in the milk. So some level of H-Pi was in the milk. Interesting enough, I got that phone call and I submitted all kinds of information to the FDA immediately saying, guys, you need to look at this because it doesn't cause illness. Because I got the phone call after this had occurred on May 25th. So I submitted information to Dr. Prater at the FDA saying, guys, wake up, wake up. H-Pi doesn't cause illness in humans. And you know that because the science says it. And here's a real life human experience with all these people. He didn't respond for 3 weeks. Then I wrote another email back to him saying, I'm concerned you're not reacting and responding to what I said. That was on June 3rd. July 3rd. And he responded saying, tell me more. I told him as much as I knew. He still hasn't responded since. And the interesting thing is, now the state that this problem occurred in, they're denying it occurred. They're denying there was a problem because they don't want the social pressure of having had this happen and have it answer the questions that come about this. And meanwhile, the FDA has been pushing H-Pi, or this highly pathogenic avian influenza, which is not hylopathic, by the way, in the media for the last 6 months. And so the science and real life experience is suppressed because of the forces at Moderna, literally getting their $176 million. And if you look at the Moderna, they were having a challenge because their income dropped substantially because they're no longer making COVID vaccination, making billions of dollars. So it's the sustainability of create a new crisis so you can fix a new crisis. And in this case, there was no crisis. There was no crisis to fix. It didn't occur. It has not occurred. There's been no illnesses from raw milk and H-Pi in the United States, not one. Yet we're spending $176 million on Moderna to create a vaccine nobody wants anyway. That's not even a basis for even taking. There's nobody dying. So this is the insanity and the entrenched politics of what's going on at the highest levels, or I should say the lowest levels, depending how you look at it. So the truth needs to get out. The truth needs to, the bioactives found in raw milk are very, very antiviral. That's why kids don't get viruses. They don't get flu and cold. And the European studies are so clear on that. So it's interesting that consumers that would consume his milk now are consuming milk from cows that have antibodies for that milk in their, for that virus in their milk. And it's highly healing and protective. So Mother Nature's blueprints are being ignored, suppressed in favor of pharmaceutical interests to make a bunch of money. And that's just so sad. So I just thought I'd tell that little story to you because it's breaking news to me. We're going to be on probably tomorrow or the next day. LA Times has a major breaking story on this, where they came out and interviewed me, and story is really going to be thick and deep with science and why this is growing the way it is.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, it seems like this isn't a story that's in isolation. Like we had the Strong Sisters. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. They live in Michigan. They run a co-op called the Nourish Co-op. And they were just, I think just last week, raided by the Michigan Department of Agriculture, threw away $90,000 worth of raw dairy products simply because the avian flu scare, the H5N1. So I'm curious to get your take on that a little bit more. Do you like what do you think the real risk factors are with the bird flu? Do you think it's and what do you think the motives are for kind of pushing this fear out into the public like consciousness? Like why are people getting raided for having raw dairy farms during this time?
Well, I'll start with the science. Peg Coleman with Coleman Scientific is an ex-USDA risk analysis and medical biologist. And she did a meta-analysis, which is a study of all studies, right? Is looking at all the information available at PubMed and other archiving literature databases, and found that there was no evidence at all that this particular H5N1 virus lacked the genetic potential to make the jump to humans. And it was a virus that was actually communicated by respiratory communication and transmission, not GI tract. It wasn't like norovirus, which can cause problems to the GI tract. It wasn't like that. It was different. Genomically, genetically, it was different. So the FDA knows this. Their scientists are very smart. But remember, post-COVID, they really beat up a big fear campaign on COVID. Now, I'm not saying that COVID didn't kill people. It did. It really did. It killed those that had compromised immune systems and poor health. That's who it killed. It weeded out the herd. And everybody, even those that got vaccinated, and I unfortunately made the choice to become vaccinated. I had a Moderna vaccine myself. Being the old paramedic, I said, what the hell, let's do it. And I got COVID. It wasn't severe, but I got COVID. Now, maybe it would have been worse if I didn't, but I know a lot of people that didn't get vaccinated that had strong immune systems that had no effect whatsoever from COVID. And sometimes they didn't have COVID at all. So bottom line is there's a huge push and a momentum within the pharmaceutical industry. Once you've funded the COVID vaccination and you created mRNA, they are going to want a second wave, third wave, fourth wave. It's the new way that they can make money. So in my opinion, I think this whole Moderna thing is a perfect example of you've created a large capacity organization. You have bigger paychecks to fill. You've had profits in the past. And now that's passed. How do you sustain that organization without another crisis? And so this was the classic, we need something to fix because we've got this big machine that fixed the last one in their minds. So our consumer base is saying, not again, not on my watch. We're not going to do that to ourselves again. No way. The side effects of COVID vaccination, mRNA, are horrible. All kinds of people have had problems with that thing. It's not a natural process. It's not attenuated natural viruses. It's some lab manufactured spike protein thing that's crazy doing all kinds of stuff. So the people are saying no, and they're saying we want a natural process whereby we have an adaptive immune system in our gut. And they're studying it. These same PubMed articles are available for everybody to read, and people can become smart. So there's a lot of real disconnect. And if you think about this, the FDA for the last 6 months, without any basis whatsoever, has been saying, don't drink raw milk, don't drink raw milk. And by the way, their pasteurized milk has had tons and tons of avian flu in it because it's combined between 100 different dairies together in one brand in a big cream silo. And yeah, pasteurization does denature most of that virus. I agree. However, even the active virus would not cause disease because the science says it. And now we have a dairy that sold this milk to a bunch of consumers unknowingly. It was accidental. That didn't cause any illness whatsoever. And the health department confirmed there was no illness whatsoever. So now we have the science. We also have a real life example of what happens when it happens. It happened in May. But the FDA suppresses that, doesn't acknowledge it, refuses to explore it, will not go out and do a mission of discovery to find out what the truth is. Instead, they send $176 million to their buddy over at Moderna so he can make his billion-dollar pile high a little deeper. And that, in my opinion, is lying to the people. And what's happening is the FDA has earned a reputation for not telling the truth, for misleading. And when you mislead people, they don't tend to, it's like crying wolf, right? You do that repeatedly. After a while, people say, I don't think there is a wolf, guys. You've been crying wolf every time there isn't one. And therefore, I'm not going to listen to you now. And so people would rather listen to you guys, to Harry and Brett, than the FDA, because your life experience is grounded in your own experiences and what you're doing. And that is a really, really important tribute to the fact that people are listening to influencers and people they trust and believe and love and believe in versus the FDA that's got pharmaceuticals all the way in their wallets. So that's what's going on now is people are saying, no, I'm not going to listen to the FDA anymore. I'm listening to farmers. I'm listening to those that have experienced a strong immune system. And I'm going to go farmers over pharmacies. And that's what's going on, guys.